Am I the butthole for inviting my girlfriend on an expensive vacation and expecting her to pay all of her share? I make a lot more than her. Hello. My girlfriend, myself, my parents, and my brother and his wife all went on vacation in another country a week ago. My brother and I were the ones who did most of the planning of the itinerary, although we did ask everyone else for input. For background, I make around $150,000 as an IT consultant. My girlfriend is a teacher, making $45,000. My parents are pretty affluent, as well as my brother and sister-in-law. My girlfriend knew this trip was coming up and took on a second job waitressing on the weekends for several months to get ready for it. We have always split things 50-50 in the 2 years we've been together. There were a few times on the vacation where she did not go on outings with us, wine tasting, scuba diving, etc. She also would only eat 2 meals a day, simply stating that she was on a budget. My family does favour more high-end, expensive places. My parents, though, thought it was very strange that she only eats 2 meals a day, although normally she eats 3. When we got home, I asked her why she skipped out on several of the outings and only ate 2 meals a day. I mentioned how I heard her stomach growling one night and said I was concerned about her having an eating disorder. She got teary-eyed and said that 3 meals a day wasn't fiscally feasible for her, and neither were the outings that she chose not to go on. She went on 3 of the 6 outings. She said she wasn't expecting everything to cost so much and that she was overwhelmed. She also said she doesn't know if this is going to work long term, if she's expected to go on vacations like that with people who make so much more than her. I feel bad that I didn't pick up on her discomfort sooner, but we did agree to split everything 50-50, and I don't know why she agreed to come if the cost was an issue. You're the butthole. You make 3 times what she does. You knew she had to take a second job to be able to go. You planned the holiday and the activities. She even said while you were there that she could only afford to eat 2 meals a day. Don't plan for your budget when you know she makes so much less than you. I think it's safe to say she didn't enjoy the holiday at all. She probably found it stressful to work out what she could afford and embarrassing to have to skip meals. Am I the butthole? My classmate saved goldfish by releasing them into the ocean. I called her an idiot. My classmate recently made a TikTok and she showed a group of people at lunchtime it. They were next to our table, so I overheard the girl say, "Hey, look at my TikTok I made. Come check it out." And in it, she explains how she rescued goldfish from the pet store and released them into the ocean so they can live free. What am I reading, guys? I was horrified upon hearing this. I love fish, and I have several aquariums, so I'm fairly knowledgeable on them. I walk over and I ask her to show me the video, and I facepalmed. She asked me why, and I said, "You realize you're actually stupid, right? Like, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen." Her friend says, "Well, that's just rude. Why would you say that? Because she cares?" To which I had to explain that goldfish are freshwater fish. They can't survive in the ocean because it's saltwater. So literally, all of those goldfish were dead in minutes. They basically choked to death as salt filled up their gills. Lastly, you never release animals into the wild. There are goldfish that are destroying our rivers and lakes because of idiots like her. They say that I'm a bully and walk away. I later actually get called into the principal's office, who told me I was expected to apologize. And I said no, I stand by what I said. Screw ignorant people who destroy the environment. My parents were called over and I got sent home. And my parents are actually angry that I refused to apologize. I might end up getting suspended. You're not the butthole. You're 100% right on both counts. That would have been a pretty awful death for the goldfish. And yeah, releasing captive bred animals into the wild usually either results in that animal dying or local flora and fauna suddenly having to compete with an invasive species. She meant well, yeah, but that stark reality check on your part was definitely warranted. Am I the butthole for calling my sister-in-law a racist after she compared my cooking to making kung pao chicken? For some context, I've been married to my wife for roughly 10 years, and we're a mixed-race couple. I'm Asian and she's Caucasian. Now, I've gotten along with the majority of her family, her mother, brother, sister, but I've always felt like her father and other sister, Sarah, never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15 plus years of experience, and I work at a high-end Chinese restaurant. a spin-off of a popular one in Beijing in a large US city. My crew and I have won several awards, and I've been explicitly told I'll be the next executive chef. Now, Sarah, my sister-in-law, is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it, and, no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay and Bourdain. Whenever I'm at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah always criticizes everything I do. Whether it's chopping, braising, marinating, etc., she always butts in with comments like, I actually think you should do that like this. Now, I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping those comments, saying things like, thanks, but I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and I were in her parents' kitchen, prepping dinner for my mother-in-law's birthday. We were running a bit behind, so things were heated, which I kind of like because it reminded me of work, and that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed, and said something like, oh, wow, okay, so that is not the right way of doing things. It hit a nerve, and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking, and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, making Kung Pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count. The kitchen went silent. My father-in-law snorted, chuckled, and my mother-in-law said, Sarah, what is wrong with you? I stopped what I was doing, swore at her and called her a racist POS, apologized to my mother-in-law for not being able to stay, and left for home with my wife. Apparently, this caused a massive fight after we left, with my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, other sister-in-law taking my side, and my father-in-law and Sarah saying it was a joke but kind of true, and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this, and now everyone is arguing and taking sides, with my wife even getting texts from some of her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that the fighting will stop, but I refuse to because screw Sarah and her blatant racism. So, am I the butthole? Please, for God's sake, OP, do not apologize. Sarah is racist. Yes, it may well have been a joke, but it was a freaking racist joke. I'd be goddamn livid that your wife is telling you to apologize. That is disgusting behavior from her, and she's saying that racism is acceptable, even when it's against someone she loves. At least there are some in her family who don't think racism is fine. I'd be going scorched earth over this trash. You're definitely not the butthole. And that whole classic French cuisine is superior to all those other ethnic foods you cook mentality is thinly veiled white supremacy and racism. Your wife should be urging her sister and father to apologize to you since they disrespected you. Am I the butthole for telling the truth in the wedding toast? I am a 30-year-old male, and my best friend got married last week. I just bought a house, and my wife is expecting our son in November, so I let him know I was limited in what I could contribute financially, but I did tell him I would try my best. So, I went to the bachelor party in Maine, I rented the tux, and paid for mine and my wife's dinner at the rehearsal dinner. I also had a gift of $300 that I was going to give them, but we will get to why I didn't end up doing that. His now wife, then fiance, texted me multiple times a day with updates. Fine. I didn't always respond, and it got to the point though where if I didn't respond at least once a day, I get a call from my buddy. I've got a full-time job and I'm redoing some rooms in my house, so I am busy. Now she texted me for the following reasons. 1. My wife was not allowed to talk about our pregnancy at all. She didn't want anyone to focus on that more than her, the bride. She was not going to order special food for my wife. No one asked her to. My wife was fine with whatever she was going to be served, by the way. I was not helping the groom enough. He had to help the bride, her, with favors, seating charts and programs, so I had to help him with those things, according to her. She also said to get ready to help with thank you notes after the wedding. Next, she said if I was a true best man, I would offer to pay for the bar bill. 5th, she had to read and approve my speech before the rehearsal dinner and wanted to be included as much as my buddy. I was also not allowed to include anyone but the two of them, and no inside jokes or stories about my buddy that didn't include her. That's the whole point of a best man speech. What is going on here? And finally, her last text said to tell my wife to keep it together and not make a pregnancy scene during the wedding. Also, she wanted her to choose a dress that downplayed her pregnancy as much as possible. How insecure is this person? I was just so aggravated. I spoke to my friend to see if he could reason with her. He told me just to play ball on this one. It's her day, and to cut him a break, because he'd be dealing with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I was annoyed, but I calmed down. If he is already admitting that he's gonna have to deal with her for the rest of his life, that's not a good start, is it? My God. The day of, all the bride and my buddy do is scold me, berate me, and bark orders. I head down to the bar for a drink. The bride's mother is there and warns me not to get drunk because I've ruined her daughter's day enough. That was the final straw. I didn't give them the card with the cash. And in the speech, I used my friend's exact wording about having to deal with her nonsense for the rest of his life. I wished him the best and told him I'd always be there for him, especially during the divorce. Am I the oh my, that is unbelievable. I think everyone sucks here, and here's why. First of all, the groom knew he was marrying a piece of work, and instead of protecting his interests, he co-signed, aided, and abetted his wife's atrocious behavior. 2, his wife sucks for trying to regulate your wife's body, for allowing her insecurities to cloud her judgment and being the very definition of a bridezilla. And 3, you also suck for not taking the high road and waiting until the very last minute to defend your wife's honor. Look, dude, you were totally justified, but you also had ample opportunity to jump off the crazy train before it got this far. Being a good friend means having the comfortability and latitude to say no when your friends are off the rails. You waited until the last minute and you let your emotions get the better of you. Your wife deserved better from these people and from you in this moment. P.S. Get new friends. These people suck hardcore. Am I the butthole for requesting a refund? Settle the debate. My boyfriend thinks I'm a mini Karen. We've been doing our house up for a year. It was a massive project that we knew we wanted to do and want to continue buying houses and then doing them up and selling them. We were waiting on a delivery for gravel as we've just redone the driveway. We booked and paid for a specific day for the delivery to come. My boyfriend took the day off that specific date as it was several tons of gravel to shift. I had to phone up on the day of the delivery to find out where it was, only to be told it wasn't going to be there that day. The delivery was happening the following day, but it only half turned up, so I had to phone up again to find out where the rest was. It was delivered on the 3rd day. So here we are, annoyed that my boyfriend has had to take 2 extra days off work and to find out we haven't enough, so we need to order more. It's a very specific gravel that you can only get a certain mix of at this one company. I sent an email to the company with my complaints, only for them to brush over it, and their customer service was absolutely appalling. I ordered the next lot begrudgingly. We book and pay for a specific delivery date. The date comes and goes. The delivery is a week late, but we haven't been told this. The late delivery dates are found out by me contacting them, not them letting us know. I've asked for a partial refund of the second delivery, as we've had poor customer service twice now and late delivery dates both times. This has resulted in my boyfriend taking days off that he shouldn't have had to. Now, my boyfriend says that I am being a Karen for asking for a refund, but we didn't get the service we paid for. So guys, am I the butthole for wanting and requesting a refund? Not the butthole. That is dreadful service, and I think you're absolutely right to complain. At the end of the day, they're costing you through your boyfriend having to take multiple days off. My rule of thumb is, I don't mind if companies make mistakes, it's how they handle those mistakes that determines whether I complain. They handled it dreadfully. Am I the butthole for not being honest about liking my birthday gifts? So, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. One of my good friends, Emily, got me a gift that was completely not my taste. It was a really weird looking sundress for a brand I'd never buy from, in a style I'd never wear. I typically dress in a more androgynous tomboy style. I was kind of surprised because she normally gives amazing gifts and has gotten me really cool stuff in the past, but because she's one of my closest friends, I didn't want to hurt her feelings. She included the receipt anyways, so I figured I'd maybe exchange it, although the brand is not what I'd normally buy from. Anyways, I thanked her when she gave it to me, feigned some joy as I opened it, and took it home with me. In my head, I was just happy to have gotten a gift. Yes, it wasn't my style, but it was still thoughtful of her to get me a present. I chalked it up to her maybe pushing me to try something new, and moved on with my life. Today, we were supposed to get lunch, so I thought I'd wear the dress to meet up with her. When I showed up, she seemed really shocked and even angry, and we had a pretty tense, awkward meal together. Later, I got a long, angry text from her talking about how disappointed she was. Apparently, the whole thing was a prank. She purposefully got me a dress that I'd never buy myself, that she knew I wouldn't be caught dead in, to see if I'd be a good friend and tell me the truth. She'd seen some dumb video on social media about giving people bad gifts on purpose to see if they're honest or not. Emily expected me to open her gifts and gently tell her it wasn't what I really wanted, and thus pass her test. Apparently, she was planning on giving me my real gift, a vinyl of this band I really like, after I told her I didn't like the fake one. But since I lied, I didn't deserve it. I'm really taken aback. Like, what the F? Who does that? She called me a butthole for lying to her face about loving it, and I just haven't replied to her since. I genuinely don't know what to say. This situation is just out of pocket. This is really unusual behavior for her, or for anyone I'm friends with, and I really don't know what to think. So, am I the butthole? Is this normal? You're not the butthole. Wow. Not only did she waste money on a thing she knew you didn't want, she wasted time and effort, and now emotion, on a test when she was supposed to just be celebrating you. You know, like friends do. Your friend is following some stupid TikTok trend and is now mad at you for having manners and knowing that it's the thought that counts with gifts. She's literally mad at you for being grateful she gave you a present because it was part of some BS friendship test. How does any of that make sense? Am I the butthole for inviting my sister to live with me across the country after my parents tried to charge her rent at 18? My sister is 18 and she's finishing her senior year of high school. She's finishing remotely. My parents decided to start charging her $550 rent plus utilities on her 18th birthday. Around this time, I went from working at home to returning to the office. I offered my sister my spare room that I'd been using as an office to live in for free, but she was too proud to accept it for free, so I said, alright, $200 a month, since I thought it was ridiculous that our parents were trying to get so much cash off a high school kid. I'm not telling her this, since I want to give it as a gift, but I'm going to put the money she gives me in savings for paying for her trade school classes after high school. Anyway, my parents got really mad. They said that I'm moving their high school daughter cross-country from New York to Colorado before she's even finished high school. That if she lives in Colorado with me, she's not going to be responsible enough to actually go to a trade school like she was telling the family she was planning after high school, and that I was ruining her future. They also worried that the school will have issues with them as parents if their kid is living in a different state and not in the school district during the last bit of senior year. I told them that if they wanted to treat her like she's all grown and charge her rent and utilities, then why are they getting mad when she does something like an adult? And she says she can handle things with the school, so let her do that as an adult. My parents are really mad at me and say I'm ruining her life. Am I the butthole for letting my sister move in with me even though she's still in high school? They're mad that you're moving their high school daughter away. They were going to charge their high school daughter $550 a month. It sounds like they're mad they're not getting that money. You're not the butthole, you're a good sibling. Am I the butthole for not talking to my cousin and not going to her wedding over a prank and potentially ruining her relationship? Okay, so this is much different than it sounds. My cousin, Millie, who's 30 years old, is an ER nurse. Her birthday was a few days ago, and we planned a birthday prank, which was leaving a fake snake on her cake. It was all fun and games, because we do this every year to every family member. Well, apparently this year, Millie didn't want it, so she was pretty annoyed at the fact we did it. Now, a few days ago while I was in school, I got a call from Millie during lunch. I thought it would be her saying she's picking me up. Millie proceeded to tell me that my mother had passed away in a car accident. My heart dropped and I felt like puking. My mother and I don't have the best relationship, but I still love her. Millie began to tell me the details of the death and what exactly happened, to the point I hung up on her and called my mother. My mum, who was supposedly at work as a nurse, didn't pick up, and I landed up running to the bathroom. I called my dad, bawling my eyes out and telling him what happened. He didn't understand what I was talking about though, because he'd just talked to my mum right before I called. He made me explain everything, and understandably, he was fuming. He picked me up from school and called my mum in the car, just to prove that she was alive and okay. That night, my aunt, not Millie's mum by the way, called a meeting at her house, and we all talked it out. They all were pretty much disgusted with Millie, as she tried to justify her choices, but she did land up apologising. But I got up and stated that I didn't want to talk to her ever again. Now, Millie is engaged. Her wedding is coming up soon, and I was supposed to be a flower girl. I'm 15, but they wanted me a part of it. So now I've pulled out of the wedding, which is what Millie is worried about. She doesn't want people to question where I am, and started to yell at me for being petty. My dad took me home, and I blocked Millie on everything. Her fiance, who I'm close to because he and Millie took care of me when I was younger, ended up messaging me, asking me to come. I told him no. What his fiance did was disgusting. He said that while what Millie did was wrong for doing it at school, it was just a prank. I blew up at him. She told me my mother was dead. Freaking dead, I ended up yelling. He sounded generally confused and asked me what the heck I was talking about. I told him what happened. And it turns out that Millie and her mother had lied to him and said that Millie just sent a gory picture to me while I was at school. The next thing I knew is that he left to stay with his mother and apologized to me. I apologized to him because I did call him an idiot while I was yelling. Now I'm getting blamed for ruining Millie's relationship. I'm still not talking to her or her mother, but Reddit, guys, am I the butthole? Maybe Millie's relationship is going down the crapper because she can't stop lying. You're not the butthole. How the heck could you have known she lied to her fiancé? And making you believe that your mother is dead is just sick. I don't blame you for not wanting to be a flower girl for someone who did that to you. Like calling someone and telling someone their mother is dead is not a prank, it's an act of cruelty. Your cousin deserves the fallout as a consequence of her own hurtful behaviour. You are not the butthole.